Okay, welcome. I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item is assignment for request for council action. For the Finance Committee, we have 17101, 2017 codification update, 17102 budget amendment, 17103 amending codified ordinance 33926 truck routes, 17104 fire services contract with Medina Township, 17105 expenditure over 15,000 Wingfoot commercial tire, 17106 job creation grant payment for Sandridge Food Corp. 17107 fiscal year 2017 CDBG allocation grant application. 17108 fiscal year 2016 CHIP private rehabilitation 4144 St. James Drive. 17109 amending planning and zoning code chapter 127 section 112704 and 112705. 17110 amending salaries and benefits code 3104 and accept job description tree care technician. 17111 accept conservation easements for Champion Creek restoration project. 17112 2017 concrete pavement general services program. 17113 revised civil service rule 8K promotional probationary period. 17116 amending salaries and benefits code cable TV assistant producer tech operations director. And 17118 then and now for legal fee payments. For the health safety and sanitation committee, 17114 amending salaries and benefits code regarding first and second assistant fire chief positions. 17115 amending salaries and benefits code section 3105 addition of 2 fire lieutenant positions. 17117 curbside recycling program Colzar. Emerging Technology Committee, 17095 case management software for the Medina Municipal Court. A lot of things on the agenda there. We have 17047 West Liberty Parking Structure Preliminary Budget. I think that's Mr. Patton. Is he here? Is that you, or you want to do that, or the mayor do it?
I think Kimberly and I.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Kimberly's gonna start.
All right. So as you know, we've been working with Brian Cooper from Unbound Associates on a draft tip analysis, and he has a draft report prepared and was set to meet with the schools on June 5th, and then the schools, due to their strategic planning session, wanted to move Brian's presentation to the school board back to the July date, which, as I understand now, is July 10th. So he will present that draft tip analysis to the school board, and also they needed a little more time for their tax attorney to review the different tip options. So they said they felt like by July they'll be more comfortable in meeting with Brian. We did put together sort of a proposed timeline. I know that there have been questions in the past from council on when they need to actually commit funds. That's if the schools are on board with the project. So we put together some bullet points. I think Kathy sent that to all of council. Did everybody get a copy of that? Okay. So looking at our drop dead date to get our project submitted to the state is March of 2018, but we don't want to wait that long. So what we put together were some tentative dates, sort of a timeline, starting with July 10th, if we can get Brian on that school board agenda, and then that's their working group meeting, and then July 25th, hopefully they will be in a position to make a decision. And I've never really been to too many of their meetings, so I don't know how their process works, so I was kind of hoping maybe Jim could, do they vote on things at the?
Not at the work session.
Not the work session, so it would be the next meeting they could vote potentially on something. So looking at hopefully maybe voting, they could vote on July 25th, and then we would bring Brian Cooper to our finance meeting on August 28th.
Well, let's ask the question, when they vote, you're just saying they vote that they're okay with it? Because there's no
Yes.
terms of the tip yet, right? I mean, there wouldn't be, because there's all different things you could do.
Well, and I think that's why they're having their tax attorney look at it, so that they can figure out what they want to do.
So.
But we were proposing a 50-50, 30 year.
Oh, okay.
So then roughly looking at September, mid-September, hopefully council to adopt the TIF analysis, approve the budget for the parking deck funding with, basically, we have to commit to that local match because that's what the state expects in the application. We will still need to hire the attorney for the TIF legislation and developer agreements, so hoping to do that late September. And then submit our application to the State Ohio Facility Construction Commission for review by October 15th. They need 30 to 60 days to review the project and generate a grant agreement. So we figure by the time they look at that and generate the grant agreement, we'll come back to council for review early January. And if council approves that grant agreement, then we would need 2 years to construct the parking, or we would have 2 years from that point to construct the parking deck. And this is where I'll kick it over to Patrick.
Let me ask you another question before you
Sure.
kick it over.
Oh, sorry.
On September 25th, the Board of Control and Finance meeting to hire an attorney for TIF legislation. When would that all be adopted? Because if you wanted to include parcels in the TIF district, it would probably have to be adopted prior to the end of the year, because then it wouldn't, because taxes are a year in arrears. Once the new taxes are, as of January 1st, 2018, if the doctor starts construction of the site of the old chamber building, that wouldn't be included if it's not adopted this year.
Our hope is to get all of that adopted this year.
Okay, just
Yeah,
checking, just
so
checking.
I'm sorry, so yeah, there would be simultaneous things having to go at the same time, so. It's a good question though.
Patrick?
Well, in terms of construction, the last parking deck we took, at the time, council basically said go and gave us authorization. When it was built, it was about 16 months. It worked out well because when we received the authorization, I believe in late fall, actually a little before, like September, October, and we were able to use that time over the winter to prepare a contractor to, because it was design build, that was design time, so come spring, they were ready to hit it hard, and that's what they did, and we used most of the college construction season to build it. This one probably follows a similar track. It's not gonna be as large, so it might be cut down a little bit, but it's probably gonna be around that 15-month, the time that we get authorization, the time when it's completed, it's probably about a 15-month process.
Good. Mark? No questions? So we just have to wait and see, and the school board is gonna talk to their lawyers and see how they feel about it, and so we'll know something when we get back from break.
Yes. That's the plan.
Okay. Any questions from anybody? All right. The next item we have is 17068 elected official salary review and recommendation. We've talked about this a few times. As you recall, we had several members of the Charter Review Commission get together and give us a recommendation. They gave us a recommendation. We talked about it. So now we're here and we have to make a decision because we can't keep talking about it. So either gonna make a decision to go, not go, do something, do nothing. What is everybody's thoughts on that? Now let's first talk about I think we had the mayor and finance director, they recommended to do nothing, I guess, with respect to their salaries, based upon their review and decisions in the past and what has been done over the years. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, they did do the background where the average of, what's it, 2%?
Yes.
They recommended the same
Right.
raises that
Right.
city
That
employees
they
get.
normally-
Yeah.
Other employees,
Right.
like the 2%.
And I guess, Keith, what have we been doing? We've been doing changes, hasn't there been changes every year with the finance director?
With both the finance director and the mayor's salaries, the last couple times through, you've had a percentage, or the last time you gave me the final numbers you wanted for them, and then you had me
Calculate what percent.
calculate to get there.
The percentages, right?
So you gave me a fourth year salary and had me calculate the rest to get percentages to there. And then, so if we were to match the contracts, you gotta specify what exactly you mean by that, but we can do that.
Well, yeah, because the mayor's salary's been adjusted every year since 2002. And you've been adjusted every year also. So what do people think?
I would be in favor of the recommendation that the charter review board, I mean, just the basic cost of, I guess, it's contract matching with the other employees.
Keith, what do we do in the fourth year, though, because we've only got,
Well, that's, and I would need to know what you want to do with the first ones too, because the contract is 2.5, 2 1/4, 2, but the years are 17, 18, 19, and we're talking about 18, 19, 20, and 21. So are we matching it to the year, or are we matching it to year one of the contract is the first year that we're doing, year two is the second year that we're doing, so we're essentially matching the contract with a lag, which is all we can do because we don't know what they're gonna be. But the assumption is, and the way we budget, everything is 2 after that final year, so I would assume that year 4 would be 2.
And I'm comfortable with that.
I think that would be a good way to, if we have to go into negotiations again with the starting point. This is all we're giving the mayor and finance director.
So, I'm sorry, so it's 2 across the board? Oh,
Well, that's not what Keith said.
No?
He
He
said,
asked about year 4.
right. He said it would be whatever the union contracts and the city employees were, that we have approved already.
Right.
And then the last year would be 2, year 4.
Okay.
I think that sounds, maybe it'd just be easier to do 2, 2, 2, and 2 for the 4 years.
And that's
Because
what
it's not a
the
big difference.
recommendation was.
Isn't
Just
this
2%.
year's salary has already
That's what I'm saying,
been
2%
determined
across.
for the mayor, for you and the mayor? So
Right.
it would start next year, so it
Would-
wouldn't be the same as the contract, it would only be the same.
Right, no, but I think what
for 2
everybody's saying
years.
here, I mean, because the difference
Right.
is so minute. I mean, compounded it's not, but
Right.
per year it is.
Right.
So what are you guys saying?
Right.
2%
2% across the board.
for the 4 years?
Okay, and in the past, you've let me round that to, we'll do that again, so we don't have to change it on the last. Okay.
Bill?
So what, Keith, what is 2% of your salary?
Mine's at 85, so
1,600.
$1,600, $1,700.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do. Truthfully, though, I don't see the comparison between an elected official salary and the percentage increase with online employees. You know, to me, it's the positions are so different. They're not, the negotiation process and the dollar amount that they make, it seems to me to not be a parallel to an elected official's salary. You know, I mean, if that's what 6 of you, well, 5 if you want to do, I'll go along with that, but I would feel, if it was just up to me, I think I would feel better with a fixed, you know, set a fixed rate and go forward with that until then, you know, until the next time comes when you can adjust the rate.
Right, isn't that I mean, is that, maybe I'm misunderstanding, isn't that basically what we're doing at 2%, or you talking a dollar amount that we should?
Yeah, a dollar amount, just say.
It would be that way for 4 years.
Right, just say this is, you know, when whoever runs for mayor and finance director, this is what the salary will be when you take over. And then whether we're here or somebody else is here, they can take a look at it, see where everything is at. If they deserve, you know, if it's necessary to give them a raise, or they want to feel comfortable doing that.
Keith, didn't we do that one time where for the first 2 years it was one set amount and then the next 2 years was?
My first term, that's how it was. Both of those positions were one amount for 2 years, and it wasn't for all 4, it was 2 and then 2, like you said, but 02 and 03 were one amount, and then 04 and 05 were another.
That was kind of similar to what you wanted, was a
Right.
flat dollar amount, but then it did go up after 2 years.
But if we go with just the 2% for the 4 years, then we don't have to revisit it.
You have to
Well, we
revisit
can't.
anyways.
You can't
Right,
revisit
We can,
it.
because we set it here, and then that's it for
That's
4
it for
years.
4 years.
Well,
Till the
instead of
next
doing it at
election.
2 years, like they did it when you first took office.
Well,
that's
yeah,
what
we
I'm referring
could,
to.
yeah, we could legislate that, yes.
No, I don't think so.
So I think when they did the 2 and the 2, it was all set at the beginning.
Yes.
It was.
Because you can't do it mid.
You can't, it has to be set now.
I thought you were saying 2
I
and
mean,
2.
I'm fine with converting it over to a dollar amount, if that's what Bill wants for that 4 years. I mean, we're accomplishing the same goal, so it's, you know, as long as whatever the amount is that equals that 2%, I'm fine with that.
Well, and we're going to, because
We're
we're going
at
to
2%.
calculate it, and you're going to pass a.
Right.
Well, the fourth
dollar
year,
I think what Bill is saying though, Mark, Bill, I don't mean to speak for you.
It's fine, go ahead. You might
But
be better
I
than
think
I
he's
do.
saying we set this, it wouldn't be 2%, 2%,
Right.
2%. We set a flat amount right now at the beginning, and it would be that for the next 4 years.
So you
It would be
take away the
higher than what it
compound.
is right now.
or you
Right.
could, or another way that we did before, it mentioned the first 2 years is a flat amount, the next 2 years is a flat amount.
Yeah, you could do that. I guess my point was simply the connection between, you know, the employees that work for the city and how their raises are negotiated and the jobs that they do are, I don't see that they're like these jobs. These jobs are political, and I just don't see the connection.
I hear you.
I would rather have it be, you know, we're gonna give you this much, or not you, but we're gonna give the position, we're gonna raise it to this salary
What's your
level.
suggestion?
Well, you could go with the 2% and just calculate it as a figure. and
Well, the
make
2%
raise.
of 4 years, the mayor's at 86.5 and the finance director's at 93 something. Do you think that's reasonable?
But typically, Bill, I understand what you're saying. The 2 elected officials that we reference here, they're equivalent to salary positions in private industry. Okay, anytime the bargain for employees get a raise, so do the salaried people of similar percentages, similar hourly rates, whatever is the measure of standard for that. So that's really all we're doing with the finance director and the mayor. So it's just, you know, following what industry does. That's all. But I understand where you're coming from, okay?
I think, Bill, you're kind of looking at like the county, because the county elected positions they're set for the 4 years. You
Right.
know what you're getting into,
Right.
and you know that's what you're going to make for the 4 years.
Right.
But aren't
That's set by the state.
the county commissioners and salaries like that set by the state?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. But that's how it ends up. I mean, you know that going into that 4-year term, this is how much you're going to make all 4 years.
Right, and that's pretty much what we're doing here then, too.
It just doesn't change for those 4 years for the county. I mean, they're set. They
Oh,
don't have-
okay, I see
they
what you're
don't have a
saying,
cost-
okay.
They don't have any kind of. cost.
65,000 or whatever it is.
4 years,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, all right, I see, thank you.
Mark?
I like whatever the 2% number is myself.
Just 2% straight across the board?
Each year.
Each year.
So at the end of the 4 years, the mayor's at 86,594 and the finance director's at 92.
Rounded to
Subject for
12,
12 round.
rounded to the equal pays for 12 months.
Right. Now, I guess that's a good question. I mean, when you look at it, they have different positions, and that was always been my question. Should it be paid the same, or should it be paid different?
Well, the mayor's position is the CEO of the city. Now, the qualification requirements for a person that runs for mayor versus a person who runs for finance director is obviously different, right? I would like to, if I was running for mayor, which I'm not, I obviously would think that the CEO of the city should be compensated at a higher rate. But I understand the qualifications.
But the department has to get paid more than the mayor too, some of them.
I understand that, and I don't think that's.
And the
what I
finance
think
director
of
up
the
there.
mayor. But I understand, I don't want to open up that can of worms. I'm just saying personally, you know, the mayor is equivalent to the CEO of the city, and should be compensated.
Well, CEO of a corporation, right?
Right.
He is the CEO of the city.
I'm the CEO of the corporation, right?
And I do get that too. And I don't know if the Charter Review Commission that looked at these salaries thought about that at all or not, or just, I hate to completely go off of.
Oh, no,
something
I'm
different than
not
what they-
suggesting that, but I'm just.
No, I know, I meant when, I think John asked, so it's like.
If you remember the history, if you look, they quoted that the mayor's salary has gone up by an average of 3 and the finance director's by an average of 2, and that's because of this discussion.
Right.
You guys have wanted the mayor to make more or catch up, so that the increases have been more for the mayor. And I think the idea was in the long run that it would catch up.
If I remember correctly, when was it, back in 2002? That you became a full-time job? When was the first?
Right, because in 2001, before I was here, it was paid like
19,000, right? And it went
or
to-
so.
it went to 60.
And it was 60.
Right.
So it went from 19 to 60 all at once.
So
and then-
2002, it was 60.
Then,
and so
04
now-
and 5, it was 65,
Mhm.
and then you guys started doing the percentage thing.
Cost of living adjustment.
Right.
How did the difference between the finance director's salary and the mayor's salary happen?
The mayor,
Because
the
I
finance
was-
director was always more, because it was full-time.
It was full-time.
It was always.
Right, I mean,
And
it
then-
was always more, but.
Right, yeah. it was
Then when
always-
we, I think the charter review recommended to go to a full-time mayor, and they came up with the salary, I believe, too.
Right.
And again, I think it,
But John's the only one of us who was here when that decision
I
was
remember
made,
that.
so.
Right.
But you voted for it.
Yes.
I think the difference was.
I always thought the mayor was paid, at that time, 60,000, I thought that was too low. Because at that time, there was a big disparity between the finance direct, the mayor and the department heads were making a lot more than the mayor. And I said, how could they make more than the boss?
I know, I was just looking at the county, at some of the salaries at the county, and, I mean, John Burke is the county treasurer, and he makes $61,000. And Mike Kovac is the county auditor, and he makes 79. And those are, how many people in the county? 190,000 people in the county? I don't know, their salaries are so much lower compared to when the finance director gets it. If we go 2% for 4 years, what does it come up to, Keith?
92.
92,000.
It comes up to 92,000, and the treasurer of the county is at 61. I mean, it's like $30,000 difference.
I guess so. Treasurer and auditor kind of split some of those duties, right?
Well, and treasurer is lower, but the auditor makes more than that.
The auditor makes $79,000 a year.
More than
I looked it up.
that.
Okay, we talked a lot, now where are we going in here?
I like 2% across the board.
2% across the board.
You want to do 2% each, across the board and not have a fixed number, just have 2%, or do you want to convert it to a fixed number? It doesn't really matter. It's the
Either
same
way,
thing.
we're gonna get to the same end point, so whatever you guys are comfortable with, as long as it equals 2%, I'm fine.
So you're okay, a city our size, having a mayor being paid about 86,000 and then 4 years, and the finance director be paid 92?
No, like I said, I think the mayor's position should make more, but that's not what the charter review recommended, and I think.
I'm just challenging your
No,
decision.
I understand, I appreciate
You
that.
brought,
But if we're gonna reevaluate the mayor's position, which again, I feel should be higher than the finance director, we're gonna have to, I think we'd have to revisit. I mean, like I said, are you gonna say that the mayor's position is gonna have to be paid higher than any department head?
I don't think you could do that, because
Yeah, there's some, yeah.
there's a big difference between that.
Mhm.
And there's different degrees, like they mentioned again, there's different degrees involved.
Requirements, yeah.
Requirements, exactly, yeah.
You want to weigh in?
Okay, so then I tell you, so the last thing I heard on the table was 2% for both the finance director and the mayor each year. What does everybody feel about that?
I'm okay with that. And I think part of it is we gave it to a neutral party, the
Yeah.
charter review,
Mhm.
and asked for their recommendation.
Right.
And that's what they recommended.
I mean, technically, that's right. I mean, at the end of the year, they're making the same year one as they're making year four. It's just a cost of living adjustment. The dollar they earn in year one is the same amount of dollar they earn in year four.
Provided the inflation stays the same.
Right, if it goes up higher, they get less. If it goes lower, they get more.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Which is nothing different than what you see elsewhere, in other pay raises in the public sector and the private sector.
So is everybody comfortable with that? Is there a motion?
Are we voting on these together or separate?
Separate, we gotta vote separate.
I'll make a motion first for the mayor's salary that it increases 2% each year, rounded to the nearest dollar.
Second.
Or rounded to the nearest.
So it comes out even for the pay raise.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excuse, okay. Next one?
I make a recommendation that the finance director's salary increase by 2% each year.
You can do this.
We can do it,
Go
right?
ahead.
You never know, there might be a different vote.
Finance director at 2%, increases 2% each year, subject to, so that it divides equally for payroll purposes.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Aye.
Okay. All right, now we go to council. Thoughts? Bill says do nothing. Any other counter thought to that? Should we do 2%? Should we do enough to get the 1 year service for 1 year pay?
And again, I would have to go along with the charter review's recommendation, which comes out to
Roughly 2%.
roughly 2%.
Is that what it comes out to be, 2%?
Yeah, roughly, doing real quick math in my head, yes.
Thoughts?
And a couple of meetings ago, Jim mentioned that, maybe that it would be a good idea for council members to earn enough credits to get something for the, for their service when it comes to retirement, because they are paying in the PERS. I was a little ambivalent on that, but as I thought it through, I kind of agree with Jim, that we should at least earn at least one credit, or the equivalent credit for time served.
And what is it right now to earn? Is it a, what's it here?
Sent that name out to
Yeah.
them, I think they quoted it in here.
Yeah, they did.
660 and 218?
But then we only know for 2 years. The next
Right,
year
because
doesn't
then after
have-
that, we're just guessing, because they base it on, I think it's based on some fraction of, or the amount of a minimum trustee salary, something like that.
So, but the first thing I heard was you wanted to keep it at 2% like we did for the mayor and the finance director. A 2% raise each year.
Is basically what the numbers came out to.
Right here, doing a real quick calculation, that's roughly what it is here.
Remember, you also have to make this decision of whether we're starting in 18 for the people up this year, or we're waiting till 20 for everybody at the same time.
Thanks, Keith.
Well, there is a difference. I mean, this is not 2% the way they have it. Because 2% the last year would be 681 and they got 765.
I think they figured in so that you could get that credit.
You're right, that's what I thought that they did.
So it's not 2% across the board then?
Right, okay, yeah, the first 2 years are roughly 2%, and then after that, it does take a jump.
I'd like to lower that differential too.
That's fine. What do you guys think?
Again, I have to agree with Jim and Paul that, the credit, year's credit for time spent should, I think whoever's in this position in 2018 or 2020 should,
But we don't know what that's gonna be.
well, we do now, right now, but we don't know what it's gonna be in 2 years.
Right.
That's right.
And you can see they tried to estimate it the best they could and stay up with it, but.
Right. So you're saying 2%, what their recommendation is higher
Yes,
The 2%.
than the 2% for the last year?
yes.
And that's what they're estimating for PRS years service? Or is that, but they're not gonna know that?
Right, they've only given us through 18.
Right. Then I would recommend 2% across the board, and if it changes in 2 years, who's ever on council then could adjust it for the next election.
So have it take effect immediately, the 2% change, and then revisit it in 2 years if you wanted to see who's up at that time, if it changed for who's ever.
Yeah, the way that would work is those who come into office in 2018, they would be under that salary number for 4 years.
Mhm.
And then in 2020, those who come in, they'd be under that salary for 4 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
you have to revote it again. in 2
Right,
years.
right, yeah.
Unless you just said everybody
Change the
has
vote.
changed 2% cost of living adjustment, so everybody gets paid the same they do. Technically, you're getting paid the same that you started out with, in
Right.
reality, if everything historically is 2% change in the cost of living adjustment per year, which I think is pretty close, isn't it? Well, maybe it's closer to 3
Yeah.
over the long term.
It's been low lately, but
Yes.
long-term, it's been higher than that.
Yeah. So it's not as if you're getting a raise. No, you're just making the same amount of money you made each year.
It was a raise when the mayor and I got it.
Yeah. But after that, it's really not a raise. It's the same.
I can't remember, John, last time when we went from 250 to 600, did we do everybody at the same time, or did we?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it didn't work for everybody at the same time, but we did it all.
We said-
So whenever you're elected, you got that.
Yeah, because I remember I got a premium, if you will, compared to you guys.
Right.
So it's whenever you're elected.
It's whenever you're elected. It doesn't give us a raise now.
Right, yeah, I know. I just couldn't remember, though, if everybody got it in if you waited till 2020, or?
No, it's just when you were elected. If you're elected sooner than others, you got it sooner than others.
I'd be in favor of doing that consistently then,
Okay. Consistently meaning,
how we did it the last time.
because consistently would mean, okay, that could mean everybody gets the same. Okay.
Consistently different.
So do I hear that everybody's okay with 2%, as we did with the mayor and the finance director, effective whenever you're elected?
Correct.
Or whoever's elected, because it may not be you.
All right.
So starting the next election for just
Right.
those positions.
2%.
Two,
I know you're against it.
two questions. How, council has always been paid monthly, so it's 12 pay periods instead of 26 or 27. And you've always in the past been paid whole dollar amounts. But that would be rounded to the nearest $12, which is almost as much as your raise here, so I don't know that that really would work. You want me to just round it to the nearest penny for the 12?
Well, wait, the 2%, am I looking at?
That is not 2%.
recommendation?
Those are a lot larger than 2%.
And that was
That's
to
in
keep
order
it.
to get the credit.
To get the credit.
Is what you guys were saying you wanted.
Right,
Now
that's
you're
what I
saying
thought
you
I
don't
heard.
want it.
Yeah.
So be clear that if you only do 2%, you're not gonna get the credit.
Starting in.
Well, you'll get a portion. You'll get,
Well, you're not
You
gonna
get
get a
a-
full
you're not gonna get a
credit.
full year credit
This
for
is
full
for
year service,
full
you're right.
credit.
This is the numbers they came up
Right.
recommending that it
And
should be at
because-
that amount to get full year credit.
Because Mike Jakes went there and talked, he talked to people there, and that's what they, said that the salaries were gonna be, or what the minimum was gonna be. So he based it off of.
Hey, this is for future councils too, this is not for this council, whoever wins the election gets the benefit of this.
You know, I look at it this way. And I know, none of us, we always say this, well, we didn't come here to do for the money. And, clearly you wouldn't. We get paid, except for John, we get paid $500 a month. And actually, what we really get is 420.
Depends on your taxes.
I don't know, whatever we get is.
After OPERS?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Right.
something, it's something less. I mean, yeah, you can call it a salary, but I look at it like it's a stipend, in effect, to basically cover the costs of what we do in some small part. Whatever you do, involvement in the community, stuff you go to, that money probably does help to cover the cost. But I don't look at it as a salary, and I don't see the difference if we get nobody came here for the retirement. Nobody came here for the credit. And I hope nobody does when we're gone. Like I said last time, you want people to come here because their heart's in it, regardless of what you get paid. Yeah, it's like serving on a board of a trust. You're doing it to manage a trust, you're not doing it particularly to make more money. The retirement part of it that I can tell would be so insignificant that the time we took to discuss it might not even be worth the discussion. These positions, I can see the discussion because these positions, the finance and the mayor, are directly relevant to the, when you look at the time we spend here, is what I think about frequently. And an administrator talks, or the mayor talks, or you come up here in the afternoon and you talk to them, or you see what they're doing on the weekend. Those are hugely encumbering jobs, The hours are significant. Much of what we do is the information we get. We're reliant on these people, the administrators and the mayor, the finance director, to give us the information so that we can make decisions. That's a relevant thing to be careful with what they're paid, because you always want to get people that are being paid a fair amount for the time they put in, because you never would want to get somebody who backed off on what they did because they felt they weren't getting paid enough once they get into it. But for us, you know, I'm surprised actually that we're kind of having such a lengthy discussion simply about, and I know it's not for us.
Right,
But-
and I do agree with you, except, and I don't think it matters for the bodies that are sitting here now, but in the future, if you have somebody, and I'm sure there's people here that have had military service, or maybe worked years in PRS or some other governmental agency that they decided they wanted to give back to the community, and that year's service that we accumulate could make a difference in their retirement. Am I wrong in that, or?
It can, you can buy military time in PRS, and it can be combined with other PRS time. So if you worked for the city or any other governmental agency in the state of Ohio, the time would be combined.
It could, but would you want that to be the reason that the
Oh, no, I don't
person
think
ran?
people- yeah.
You know, I don't know, to me, it's so, we're talking about a dollar amount that's so small, and the benefit that's so small, that I like the $500 a month seems great. You know, I mean, that's fine, and whatever we actually take home, that's fine, it just kind of covers the cost. But
And I agree with you too, even though these numbers may come up above the 2%, and it still may not get us a full year's service, or whoever's gonna be sitting here, a full year's service, but it will get them closer to a full year's service. So you may have to work 3 years to get 2.5 years service, but I think if we don't address it somehow, the people that, and like I said, I've over the years worked with people that have had military service or, you know, other public service, that when they got ready to retire, they could retire early by buying back some of their time. So if you have somebody that is in that position, which I don't think anybody here is, but in the future, you could have somebody that wanted to give back to their community, and that would be a nice perk to be able to. And I'm not saying that it would have to be equivalent to exactly a year's service, but I do think we have to adjust it so it gets closer to that. That's just my opinion.
I just disagree.
No, and I respect that.
It's uncomfortable for all of us to talk about our own salaries, which is why we gave it to the Charter Review Committee and asked them to look at it. They recommended these rates, and I respect that that's what they came up with, and staying with the minimum is what we traditionally have done for these positions. So for those two reasons, I'm good with their recommendation, and I'm good.
Well, I don't think the council president should make as much as the council president has on here. I don't think it's that big of a difference, because we all contribute. It's not like I contribute a lot more.
So I got to you a little bit.
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, you do.
I think you're underestimating yourself, though, John, that you put a lot of extra time into it that all of us
But
don't have to.
that doesn't mean the future
Yeah.
president council will do that.
It's true.
John's never leaving.
You can't look at the person, you gotta look at.
He's gonna match his grandpa.
That's a long time.
For stuff in the
50 years, that's a long time.
Got a lot to do.
So what do you guys want to do? We got to come up with a decision. We talked enough.
Yeah.
Jim makes a good point. I'm fine with the recommendations from
On both sides?
him.
That's kinda high.
Well, no, I mean, if you want to reduce your.
Well, I don't think that's kind of high the
I
way
mean,
they
Jim
have.
makes a point, though. It's somewhat uncomfortable to talk about salaries.
I know.
And, I mean, I might not be here next year, but it still makes me feel a little uncomfortable. It's a recommendation from a committee unbiased committee that, so. I
And
mean, I appreciate what Bill says, but,
And you can always, I mean, if you're making more money than you think you should, and I'm not referring to you, but anybody, any of us, which I'm not going to, but any of us can donate money back.
We accept donations.
When you
That's what I'm
cut
saying.
money
You
from
can
my
donate. I mean,
budget
if you're
this year,
thinking-
just remember you gave yourself.
If you don't want to make any more than
We didn't give ourselves raises because we,
right. And I'm not being sarcastic about that, we can. I mean,
You're right.
if you think that 500 is, and you're not concerned about the year's, you know, service for the state and PRS, we can always donate that money, the extra money back to
And that's not my point, though. My point is, why do you run for the office, and why do you want people to run for the office? And politics is all about money. You know, I mean, we look at the mess in governments above us, and the money that is there to be made, and the money that is made, and we're not about that. You know, the wonderful thing here is we don't have anything to do with that. And I'm not uncomfortable talking about our own pay.
Right.
I'm fine talking about it. I've enjoyed the conversation. But I think government should be less about us and more about the service part of the public service. Not that, and this is not directed at any of you guys.
Right.
This is just, in this discussion about this issue, I don't see that it's such a small amount of money. I think it's not relevant, and I don't want people to run for this, because this is working, what we have works so well, that I would hope we could attract the same kind of people with the same reasoning and desire that we have now. Not anything to do with, I'm gonna get service, I'm gonna get more retirement. That's my point.
Point taken, but, and just what Jim said, we're being consistent of what's been done in the past. So that's, I'm fine with what we have.
And I agree with you, Jim, also.
But that gets you guys to the point where you're making enough to get the credit. The president already makes enough to get the credit. And I don't know if there should be that big of a differential, to be honest with you. Again, listening to what you said about respect, that's a bigger difference. I think the position of the president could be cut back.
Well, what do you recommend, John?
2% a year is enough.
And I'm also comfortable with that, because we are, I mean, I'm comfortable with, I understand what Jim's saying and Mark's saying, and I do agree that the charter review members did work hard on this. Mr. Jinks, like I said, contacted the state and did the legwork for us. If that comes out to more than 2%, I'm comfortable with voting for that, or if everybody else just wants 2%, as we did for the finance and mayor, I'm also comfortable with that.
But I don't think that gets you enough, 2% will not get you enough to get the credit.
Well, it won't get us enough to get a full year's credit. And like I said, it doesn't matter to me, and I don't think that, in Bill's comments, I agree with you 100%, but I hope that people that run for these positions in the future will do it with the same idea that we have. We want to give back to the community that we live in and grew up in, most of us, but I also think that there are people out there, and I've met a lot of them over the years, that have been in jobs that they're getting ready to retire, and they can retire a year or maybe a year and a half earlier by buying back some of their credits for public service, whether that be in politics or not. So, but I'm comfortable, like I said, either with the 2%.
But I want one thing to that point, and I agree with what you're saying. The only thing is with our salary level and what we're contributing to PERS is not going to make that much of a difference of whether we can retire 1 or 2 years early. This number is so low, we would be getting, you saw it, we get it. That's, you take that $5,000–6,000 and spread it out for the rest of your retirement life.
You could if you moved to Yemen.
Pardon?
If you moved to Yemen, I think you could do it
You
on
could
a
live
couple
on that,
dollars.
okay, all right, but, no, but I agree. I'm of like mind with Bill as far as we are here because we are serving the community, we're giving back. We like what we do, we want to keep the community going as we are. We're not here for the money. I've always said I'm here for the service. But for those people, especially with the economic times that we've gone through and some of the losses that people had, this might be the bump that some people may need to get them over that hump, to help them retire.
So what's the motion? We gotta.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll be glad to make a motion that we follow the recommendations of the Charter Review Committee for both the President of Council and the 6th council member.
And second.
I mean, the only thing I have difficulty with is whoever serves in the president's position, it just seems like it's a little high. I think that the increases over time are a little high, and I would recommend that everybody contributes a lot. That the president position, who's ever here, have a lower increase than what they show here. I think, Mark, you brought that up.
You said 2%, you're talking about taking your current salary now and bump it up 2% every year.
Because there's still gonna be a differential. And I think the point is there's a differential.
Yeah.
I don't think the point is how much that differential is. That's my
I
opinion.
think they were trying to keep it consistent with what the original committee recommended for these two spots.
I understand. That just seems high. What are your thoughts?
I think it makes sense. I mean, I don't think that makes, I would prefer that it, I'm not in favor of this, but I think that you should have that increase. The president of council should have that increase. Maybe you don't see it, I suppose, but I think the rest of us probably see the role that you play in our ability, like I was saying about the role we all play because of the administration, in our ability to function and do what we do is a large role. And many council presidents before you may played very well, filled that role. And my hope would be that when you aren't here, we get a council president who is like you, who with the ability you have to do what you are doing, you've been doing for these years as you've been president of council. And I don't see that that's a disparity that, is out of line.
So motion's been made in a second.
Fine. I guess, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on now.
That's with the recommendation.
Yes, whatever the recommendation was.
And
So what's listed from 2018 through 20?
It's these numbers right here, right?
Right, that's what I thought.
That's how I understood that.
Me too, I just want to make sure.
17069, overnight street parking, we talked about this a lot, but I think we should have to come to a decision. That's why I put it back on. So, you got any update? Did you?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation from looking at the parking situation is that the smartest thing I think we could do, the most logical thing I think we can do in order to keep a consistency is to keep things the way that, keep things the way they are now.
So with Darla, what's her solution? Do we have a solution?
Brian brought this here.
Oh, well, you're sitting next to Brian. So
Yeah, I'm sitting next to Brian.
But I guess the solution is, I mean, there's not many, but there's one or two, or maybe three streets in the city that are stuck in a situation where the developer built the houses closer to the road, they have shorter driveways, which causes an issue, of course, because if you have more than 4 cars or more than 3 cars, you really can't put them in a driveway, or more than 2 cars, because of the shortness of the driveway.
Or the garage.
Right, but there is a solution, talking with the mayor, that there could be an apron put on your driveway, but that may not be a solution for you, but it could be a solution for others in your situation. I'm speaking with Darla.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, wait a minute, explain apron, like to widen it all the way down the street?
I don't think, Mayor, it's not widening it all the way down to the street, it's putting an offset to the side of it.
Yeah, there's a certain percentage of the driveway width that then can be converted to a turnaround.
Like a turnaround.
I think you need to take a little drive to my house.
Well, I know, and your house may be unique, but you see, the discussion here that they're having is that, do we make a rule for the whole city to address your one issue, which
I
will,
get that.
which will causes conflicts for others that may not have that? So it could be a situation where you're, unfortunately, you're in a unique position where if we change the rule, it'll negatively impact many more, but benefit you. So what do we do as a council for, because we gotta look at the whole city. We understand your issue, and we're trying to figure out what is the best solution for your issue. Is it changing the rule, which could negatively impact others, or what is the best solution?
Well, and I did send an email back to Brian and Mr. Lamb about, some of the residents would like to literally close off Chadwick at Patriots Way because it's such a cut through and the traffic flies through there. And I never heard back from that email that I sent, so I don't know if that's even been discussed.
Well, I think from a safety director standpoint, that would be problematic from,
I talked to Brian about it.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, but
He said he thought we should talk to the mayor.
what's a safety director
That's-
issue?
that's
You
right.
can't stop
Yeah.
the safety forces from going through the street. The other issue is.
You don't want to, I mean, the whole purpose of having the roads cut through is to provide alternatives for the public at large. Those are public streets, the tax dollars paid for it, so to say, we don't want people to cut through or they're going too fast. There's other mechanisms to correct that,
Right.
not shutting the street down.
Right, the police enforcement,
Yes,
things of
yes.
that type that you would do.
Right.
So, I think the answer to your question on that one would be, have the signs up, have more police presence. I would assume that would be the solution, Mayor, that's how you handle the speedings
Right.
throughout the whole city.
Right.
But that, I don't know if you like that answer or not, but there's an answer.
And we have a lot of police presence on the street, trust me, we do.
Yeah,
That's the form of thing.
Yes, sir.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Yes,
on
sir.
the police presence, instead of, the police are fantastic in our neighborhood.
They are.
They park on Commerce though, and you have to slow down to make that turn anyway. If they would park down on Winston Circle, you would have, I'm telling you, people go through there at 40 to 50 miles an hour. That cut through, that live right on Abbeville, because they're through it every day.
I assume there's a way to
Every
do
day,
that.
and every night at 5, 6 o'clock, it's like
Park it
rush
down
hour.
on a side street down.
And more cars are being parked
If-
on the
if-
street
if
because
the
of the sidewalk
police-
rule. Literally, I watched a car come and hit a parked car on the street,
Yeah,
coming
I mean-
around the corner.
If the police would park down Winston Circle, hidden with their gun out, you guys could.
With your speed gun out.
Well, Speed gun, let me put it down.
One of the issues with parking far down the street is you have to have line of sight.
And that, we don't have that, that was
No,
why.
I'm saying for laser or radar to work, you can't park halfway down the street.
Well, even if you were just behind the corner house, like off of Patriot, or off of Chadwick Lane, 20 feet, I'm telling you, you spend one night there.
Oh, I've spent a lot of nights there.
Right, and I see you over on the, you know, on the corner of Commerce, like I said, but people have to slow down and make that turn on Commerce.
Well, if I sit on Commerce, I can actually shoot up Chadwick between the houses with the laser.
Because I've come down and they can park in my driveway, they can park in my garage, I don't care, we gotta stop it, it's out of control. It is out of control, the people that,
And you can't see when all
Cut
those
through
cars
there.
are parked on the side of the street, coming around the corner, you can't see. And we are situated right there, and cars are coming off of Abbeville, coming down Chadwick, and they can't see each other because of all the cars that are blocking the vision.
it's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
I built 17 years ago there, and my kids are grown and gone, I don't have any little children, but there's a lot of little kids in the street, there's pets, there's. and
What's more
I'm telling you,
disappointing is that the neighbors who live there, because that's who's driving there, don't recognize
The
it.
neighbors that live there, I'm telling you, anybody that lives in either Patriots Way or on Chadwick Lane, they don't speak to the neighbor, their own neighbor. They just don't. They're responsible people that have beautiful homes in that neighborhood, they don't speak to the neighborhood, they watch out for each another. The people that are speeding are the people that are cutting through, that live off of Abbeville Road, or that live off of 18 or whatever. I mean, it's the same cars. I could take pictures of the same cars every night that come through there at least 40 miles an hour.
Well,
We'll handle it with
okay,
enforcement.
okay. The police department will try to address that issue. I don't know if that gives you comfort or not, but they'll be there trying to address those cut-through speeders that do that. Now, back to Darla's original issue, because we're back on that issue. Now, I guess from what I'm hearing is, I guess there's solutions besides changing the law that'll impact the whole city that you could do with an apron and things of that type, but you really can't because of the size of your lot.
I widen my driveway 7 feet
Right.
already.
So you're there.
I don't, the only place I can put it is in the front door, literally my front yard, because.
I was gonna say,
How many feet
the
is
front yards of these properties are
They're small,
not
right,
subject, yeah,
right.
they're very small, and you try to put a turnaround in our,
No,
I might
I'm-
as well just pave my whole damn front yard.
I know.
You know, so, and make it a parking lot, so.
Well, the question is really only, you could only, it sounds like have 2 cars parked in the driveway, but there are garages that I understand that causes another issue. If you have a boat in your garage or whatever, what do you do? And I don't know the answer to that question, but they were made for cars and other vehicles, but if you have more cars, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. You put a conundrum, because if you change the law for the city, or on this, everybody's gonna want that change for the street, and then you're gonna have a big problem citywide. So what is the solution? I guess the solution is, we can't change the law, but the solution is gonna have to be up to the homeowner then. What do you do as far as when you're allowed to park? Do you come out at night, try to pull your car?
Over the sidewalk. and
Right,
then
you
guys
can't do
can
that.
ticket me as a city.
Right, you can't do that. Well,
I can't win no matter what I do.
that's right.
I can't park in my
You-
yard.
you are right.
I can't pave, I could pave my yard if you want me to. Jody doesn't want me to.
No.
She won't have a fit.
No.
But
Well-
I don't know where else to go. what
Darla?
else to do. And everybody in my neighborhood that has kids is gonna have the same problem when those little ones start growing up.
And if I remember our original conversation, the first meeting that you come to, you said that your son likes to fish, and that's why you have a fishing boat in your garage.
I couldn't put 2 cars in my garage anyway.
But you could fit one.
I could fit one, but I'm certainly
And
not
you
gonna
got 4
make my
cars?
son get rid of his fishing boat. That'd be
Right.
like,
But, and like I said, the solution, and you said you've already poured an extra apron to park a vehicle?
I can do actually 3 across, but they're so short, I can do them 3 vertically, but then I still can't put one horizontally at the end without covering the sidewalk. I mean, I've tried every option I can.
Now, and again, I've drove by the neighborhood, I don't know which one's your house, I didn't.
It's the only ranch.
Yeah, okay.
On Chadwick, it's me.
But it seems, and I think, God love your son, that he loves to fish and he's got the boat, but I brought up before a possible storage area that you could maybe
Who's gonna
post.
pay for that? I'm on
Pardon?
my own. I'm on my own. Who's gonna pay
And I
$60
totally
a
get that,
month out of
but
my
along
budget?
with Mr. Coyne's comments though, and we understand your dilemma, I mean, I feel horrible for you, I really and truthfully do, but to change an ordinance,
And I get that too, and I don't care if I park on the street, just don't ticket me at night if I pull them in and park over the sidewalk. And I get I get I'm asking for a special favor, but I guarantee you in 5 years, this whole room's
That's
gonna be
state-
filled
that's
again
state
with
law.
Kensington Point.
Well, I mean, I guess the only thing that we have in place right now is about parking on the street. You have to call the police department, say you're gonna park there. Now, not everybody's gonna do that. Now, I don't know how that would be, but if you have to call every night, I mean, that's an inconvenience, but that's one solution. But you have to call every night.
Oh, if they
Yeah,
were here,
you
they'll have
could,
to
but
call.
it's not meant to be.
I know, but I mean, that's
Right.
not people are gonna call every night. It's just, people don't do that.
I know, but I mean to encourage her to call every night, that's not the purpose of the,
Right.
of the exception. It's supposed to be an exception, not we're gonna park there every night.
But I guess that's a good question that you raised. I mean, that's, there's a question of timing. If it's for months is one thing, but if it's for years, that's another thing.
Because this is a temporary situation, because eventually your sister will move out, your kids will grow up, and you'll be back down to 1 or 2 cars. So it is temporary in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
and
so-
then that's.
I mean, eventually-
Let me ask you this, though.
There's gonna be more just like.
We're not allowed to
me.
block the sidewalk at all, at any time.
That's state law, yes. That's
Okay,
correct.
so
That's not.
when we
our-
have guests over, they have to park in the street or find a place to park.
And they're allowed to do that, yes.
Okay.
I mean, we had situations where there's grad parties where people park on both sides of the streets, where that's not accepted, but again, there's a grad party, what do you do? And people go crazy because they're from out of town, they just do
We
whatever they
couldn't
want.
even do that. We
Couldn't
have
even
to,
get
we
through.
go down and park in Patriots Way, or we
Right,
have to go
right.
down and park on Commerce.
That's the right thing, right, when you have a big party, because there's
Or
nowhere
we
to park.
start pulling them in on grass.
Right.
John, I think this is where a parking deck could go.
Oh, you're so
I mean, I don't know
funny.
what I'm open to suggestions, I don't mean to be sarcastic.
Well, no, we're trying to give you solutions, but,
I am certainly
you
not
know, it's
gonna take
difficult,
away my
right?
son's right
No, I
to
understand.
fish and then incur a storage unit on top of it. I mean, I can't afford it.
I know.
And I didn't move to the city and support my kids to be told to store my stuff in a parking garage, or a storage garage.
Well, the only, I mean, you understand why we can't change the law.
I absolutely understand.
So the question is, I mean, I think the only solution, I understand the mayor's point, it's not meant to do that, but I don't know where, there's no other solution, I guess, but, because most people aren't gonna call every day. I can tell you that. They're not gonna do it. No, they're gonna wanna do it, they're gonna change it, because if you don't do it, you get a ticket. That's the problem.
What is the timeline? Tell me the timeline for it's 4 cars.
It's 4 cars, so, my sister parks in the driveway, because she takes her dog back and forth, and I don't want her dog in the street. So she leaves, usually by 5:30 in the morning and doesn't get home till 7. I leave at 7 in the morning and get home between 4:30 and 5. It's summer break, so Adam's in and out. And my daughter Amy is in college, so she's taking a college course and working in the summer, so her schedule's kind of flexible. So it's really evening hours. There's the 4 of us are home, and sometimes Amy's not home, because she sometimes works nights, and Adam sometimes works nights.
And so what is the timeline when, will somebody move out? Is there somebody who will eventually move out, or do you have any?
My son is 16, my daughter's 20, and my sister's going through divorce, so I don't know. I
If you-
can't, I could answer that as much as I can say. If I
Oh,
was
okay, so
alive
for the
tomorrow,
time
I
being,
don't
it's
know.
it's the four.
It's going to be full, yes.
Otherwise you gotta change it around.
Which is like.
What if you
any
had
other
a,
home.
if you had a storage unit, okay, let's just say it was accessible,
Yeah.
could you put the boat there?
I could put a boat there, but I could still only put one car in the garage.
Or you can put the boat in the backyard.
No, if there was no, there's no room in the backyard, I don't think.
No, there is no room in the backyard.
If you had a storage unit for, and you didn't think about the money, right?
Right.
That still doesn't put the, that
It
still
leaves
leaves,
me with 3 cars.
and the 3 cars don't fit.
Right,
No.
because the inside of my garage has like a bump out where the laundry room is. So unless I have a Ford Focus or a small car, it doesn't fit on that side.
Yeah, okay, so that's the reason it's a 1 car.
It's one car.
Because of that.
It's classified as 2 car, but
Okay.
the other side is really.
Gotta get that little economical one though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that I didn't, wasn't clear to me because I looked at
Right.
it, how it was a 1 car, okay.
And I still have to have a place to put a mower or weed eater or, you know.
Right.
And I'd like to be able to buy a shed, but I can't buy a shed if I have to concrete my front yard. So, you know, I don't have so much funds.
But I thought there were 3 cars that fit in the driveway and then 1 in the garage. So how is that not 4?
If the boat, if this little tiny 12-foot fishing or 10-foot fishing boat wasn't in a garage, 1 car could go in the garage.
Right.
And then my truck can't, it depends on which 3 cars you have out. My truck is an F-150, it's big. If we had Adam's little Ranger in the garage and my truck was out, I don't know if we could fit through, I don't know that way. We tried not with my truck. And then we still have the issue of whoever's in the garage and leaving, you know, we're out moving about 4 cars at 5:30 in the morning to get everybody resituated to where they want to be.
Did I hear you say that that 12-foot boat is taking up the whole garage?
It just takes up half of it. The other
Okay.
half, my laundry room, is bumped out, so.
So why couldn't you put the boat on the side that the laundry room is bumped out on?
It's not that big.
It'll fit.
It's not that big.
That
There's-
the laundry
there's a
room's that bumped
trailer
out that
under
far?
the boat.
Yeah.
There's a trailer under it.
But you said if we don't, you said if you don't concrete the driveway, you could build a shed to put the boat in?
No.
Did I hear that?
No.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
No.
I don't have any, okay, so if you think of my lot, how long is my lot?
They're small over there.
55 feet long. It's not very long. And there's a swale in the backyard, and I have 2 French drains in the backyard because we get water off the field. So we are in the process of trying to get our yards bigger, but we're waiting for a letter from the gas company and all this other stuff. So eventually, once the HOA can give us the land that's behind us, then I would love to be able to buy a shed, but I only have so many funds, so I can't buy a shed and I can't do the driveway and I can't do it all, it's just me.
My neighbor, woman who lives next door to me, she rents out, she doesn't park her car in the garage, we have really long driveways. And she rents out her garage. I mean, one guy has a boat there and somebody else keeps a car in her garage. I know those are all. I have a neighbor who, you know, I've never done this, but I know, I have a neighbor who has a 2-car garage and she doesn't use it, she rents it out. I mean, she has a guy that keeps there's a big boat in there because I watched him, they had to take the trim off the garage to get the boat in. And every time he gets the boat out, he has to take the trim off again, which didn't make sense to me, but.
And that's great, but again, it's just me, and I don't have all these
Yeah.
extra funds that you're referring to.
Yeah,
can do
I mean, I don't know what
whatever
people
I
charge
can
though to
do.
like rent out a garage.
I don't think it's legal.
But, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's, I mean, we all feel horrible for your situation.
You can't rent out your garage?
Well, it's just not her. There's other people in the development that have
It
You can
is-
rent your
more
house.
than multiple
David
people
has
living,
multiple.
and I've got 2 kids that drive,
Right.
live in my house, and I have a classic car in the car, and I have my car in the garage.
Right.
And my
And-
fiance, and then I have my son, and then my daughter.
Right,
So
and,
they're-
and I totally understand that. I mean, you drive around the city, you'll drive by one driveway and there's no cars because both cars are in the garage. And you drive around the other parts of the city and there's 3 or 4 cars parked in the driveway, not over the sidewalks, but parked in the driveway. Every family situation is different. What I'm hearing from my colleagues here is, I don't think we're willing to change the law
Well, she
or
understands.
the ordinance.
And I'm not asking you to
Well,
do
she
that, I
understands
just,
that.
we gotta come up with,
A solution.
But
the whole sidewalk thing is what.
Well, that's the state, as the mayor
Well, I
explained,
know, I
that's.
understand that.
That's fine, but we don't see too many state troopers that come through.
Ma'am, it's not a state trooper, it's a state law that the city
And I
police
get
have to
that.
enforce.
That the city has to
But the
enforce.
city would
Right, I don't know.
continue us
We
to
get
park.
Brian
as
Hilbert's
many
gonna talk.
complaints about people parking across sidewalks, but yes, because pedestrians,
You know, when
you know, they
you
can't
come
walk,
out,
kids
Brian
can't
Hilbert's
walk, they gotta
at-
go out
He's
around the
probably
park,
home.
you know, then
Why
we
is
should
this on
complain
TV?
the people are running bicycles
It's
on the
solid.
sidewalk, because they're,
Yeah, well,
across
sure.
the sidewalk, so, you know, you have to
Well, I
kind of
don't know what the
balance,
answer is. I mean,
balance your
Right.
business, and that's the unfortunate part of it.
Right.
So you can call the police department and say, hey, I need to park my car in the street all night long, and you will not ticket if you give advance warning of that? Is that what I've understood earlier? I mean, it doesn't bother me, I only have 2 cars, and they're both in the garage, but I'm just saying.
So you have good driveway space.
Yeah, I drive space, I'll run out to.
Yeah.
But if somebody
I
wants
walk
to
out of your
park,
house every morning.
if somebody wants to park in the street,
wanna
then
revisit that
overnight,
pay raise.
can they call?
Yeah, usually if there is a party, like, you know, girls have summer parties, guys
Yeah,
have
that's
parties,
an occasional thing.
you
So
call.
it couldn't be like every night,
Right.
hey, park in the street.
I did that with my wife in my driveway,
Okay.
they said you can park in the street for.
Yeah, for construction, for
Yeah.
parties,
Okay.
holidays, and people,
Joe,
folks
we
over
hate
and
to
stuff,
say it,
yes.
There's no solution, there's no legal, there's no council solution to
There-
it.
There's nothing I mean, that's what it seems like the she's meant to come up with a solution. is it?
Joe, we're at a wall, apparently, and I don't know what we as council could do, because we can't change the law. So the next question is, I mean, there are options for you, but those options aren't viable, meaning putting in a turnaround in your front yard is not a viable option, but that's a
But that's
possible.
what, that's the only thing I'm gonna be able to do.
That is a possible, option, right, but.
It really is,
Yes.
because it's the only
No.
cost-efficient mechanism I have
Right.
versus paying storage garages.
Yes, I understand. It's unfortunate.
It is,
Because
and
we're
I
to-
didn't approve the development.
Right.
Medina did.
Somebody,
So-
well, I mean, I don't know.
Somebody did in
Right.
Medina. They approved all the variances, and now all of the residents suffer because of that, because no one had the foresight that 2- and 3-year-olds grow up to be 20-year-olds.
That's true. You bring up great points. I don't know what the
And what's
answer is.
sad is the land was there, they could have done it
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
You know, because
Now we're
there's a
faced
huge
with this.
vacant lot
Yeah.
behind a whole row of houses back there.
Yeah.
And they could have moved the street over
Right.
before, and it
Yeah.
could have been, it could have
You're,
been.
everything you say is correct. Hindsight's 20/20, what, I mean,
I know.
We
I'm
feel,
not trying to-
we understand your, but I guess, I don't, there's no apparent legal solution from the council's perspective to solve your problem, unfortunately. Because we can't change the law that impacts everybody else, to solve a problem for 20 and create a problem for 200. That's not a good
Well,
way to
the
do
problem
it.
is, the next problem is then if I pull the cars in at night over the sidewalks and we get more police presence because of the speeders, I can't afford tickets every single day, times 2.
No, yeah, you're in a difficult position.
I am.
Yes, you are,
And the
yes.
only thing I can do is concrete my front yard, which the city is not gonna want me to do that either.
Because you
I
can
would
only make
highly
your side,
doubt.
you can only make your driveway so big.
Well,
Well, you can
as
put a
an
turn.
association president, I don't want her to concrete her front yard, okay?
Well, the only solution would be is maybe one of your neighbors who is a single person who has one car, they could park in their driveway. That would be the only logical.
And my really kind of smart comment is, how many of your neighbors are single?
I don't know.
You're asking for a needle in a haystack, and there
I know.
aren't any.
I know.
I don't have any.
I know, but maybe they have the room, I guess I'm trying to look for a
I'm a
practical,
single neighbor
I'm trying to
that
look for,
corner house.
look for a practical solution. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm the one that's the problem.
We'll still try to help. I know Brian's not here today. He had an emergency he had to do, but, you know, we could talk to him again and maybe try to put our heads together to come up with something, but right now, we don't have an answer. And I know that's not acceptable to you, the answer, but that's the reality of it, I guess.
This is somewhat different picture answer.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll
and-
try.
And so we'll be revisiting again, once we get this letter from the gas company about the land behind us, because not that I could put up a 20-by-20 garage back there to park cars in, because I don't have access to it anyway, but I could put the boat there, but it would still have to be a 20-by-20 garage that I can't afford, and the homeowners association isn't gonna allow us to build anything that large, so the city won't either. So-
Well, maybe the homeowner association has some common property, maybe we could park.
Actually,
We do.
we would love the city to take over that common.
No, we don't want to take it over. Allow people to park something on there, I don't know.
You can't get to it, it's a field behind my house.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, which we're trying to get 120 feet behind my house. And so I could put a shed back there and put the lawn mowing stuff back there and extend my fence back there. And then maybe be able to put a second car in there, but
Mhm.
I still have a boat that, and I'm sorry, I can't imagine any one person in this room saying a kid should not be able to go take his boat, or this kid needs to work so he can pay for a storage building to house his boat, because we all want him out there doing good stuff, not bad. I mean,
No, understand. I mean, you have a tough problem. I mean, I wish we had a solution, but I don't know legally if we have a solution. So, I don't
I
know.
still think we have to think about what the solution should be.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna be the only person, I really am not. Dave here
No.
obviously is already my buddy, but,
I'm in the
every
same
house in there
situation too, but I
has-
have to move.
Well, we'll talk to
Luckily,
Brian
I tell
again,
my dog-
it's in Brian's ward, and try to come up with, see if we can come up with something to help us out. I mean, we've been thinking about it. Don't think we just sit up and do
No,
nothing.
and I'm sure you have, I know you're not blowing me off, I just wish I could come up with something as well, but I don't know.
Well, I guess the answer is let's keep trying. I guess that's the only thing we can do, is try to figure something out, that if we come up with a viable solution for your issues, because it's, like you said, it's not only gonna be your issue, it's gonna be your neighbor's issues in the future too, that we're gonna be dealing with the same conundrum, that we have to come up with a
I
solution.
mean, I can get a price to, I just don't even know where to turn.
No, the only solution I can think of is that there's a common area that the association would own that you could pave or something to park cars, visitors' cars for some purpose. That's the only thing I can think of right now. But I don't even know if that's possible.
If the boat wasn't there, could you get another car in?
Yes.
Yes.
What's
One
that?
car.
If what?
I said, if the boat wasn't there, could you get one more car in?
If the boat wasn't there, I can put one car in,
And
but I
you're,
still have three. I don't know where you want me to put the third
well,
one.
I thought you said the three fit across there,
There's this much room between them, and I'm not kidding. This much.
but that would only be from 2 to 5 a.m., when you gotta move it off the street.
Well, I'm not gonna get up at 2 and move it off the street, but you can do that.
And you,
Well, I
and
guess
Oh, maybe.
whatever hours in the evening, whenever.
Yeah.
you said your sister's living with you because she's going through a divorce now?
Right.
I mean,
I don't know.
Well, if-
It's my family. Is your kid coming home tomorrow? I don't know. Is your mom gonna?
I wish she
move
would.
in? I don't know.
I wish.
I
just-
don't know what tomorrow holds.
I just
so-
know, I have a friend who lives out in the country, he's got plenty of space, and his son, they store motorcycles and snowmobiles and everything out there, because it's a friend of his son,
Mhm.
and they don't have the space for it, so they store it out there, they ride it out there. I mean, does your son have somebody that he could ask if they have room to store the boat? Because it's on a trailer, so he can get it and move it wherever.
Well, he can, but that provides that his friend's parents want a boat there, and I want it to be sitting outside where the mice are gonna eat it. And I used to live in the country, so I get it. I totally get the country, and, I had everything in a garage, everything was great. I had a boat before of my own. But when I moved and I got my own divorce, I purchased my house because it was what I could afford. It was something that I can handle for when I get older, and I truly am there all by myself, so I don't know.
Just trying,
Well, I mean, when Brian, we'll talk to Brian again, we'll try to still brainstorm for you. I mean, right now, the answer is we can't change the overnight parking law because it'll negatively impact a lot of other people, but benefit you. So we have to come up with some other solution.
Right, and I totally understand that. It's not that I don't get that, but
We'll try.
I-
If you keep in contact, I mean, like I said, we'll try to get Brian involved, we'll try to come up with, if we can, maybe we'll think of something.
so what do you want me to do in the meantime?
I I don't know if there's anything we can
So
do.
whatever
you want in the
Police not to
meantime,
ticket
but
her.
I mean, I don't
you have
know
to
the
tell me
answer.
what I'm supposed to do.
I don't know, Mayor, I mean, I don't know what,
Well, we've told the police not to ticket you for the last
Yeah.
2 months, so we can't have you ignoring the law. The choice is to either pay the parking tickets or find somewhere else to move one of the vehicles.
I don't know where I'm supposed to move the vehicle.
I don't either, ma'am. I'm just
All I
telling you
can do
that's
is
the
sell my
option.
house, and I can't do that either.
No,
I
it's-
mean,
I mean,
I hate to say this.
in
because
all
it might be
honesty,
thrown
you're.
that it's my problem, and it's not. I'm a 4-person household. John is a 5-person household. He just doesn't live on Chadwick Lane. John would have the same problem if he lived on Chadwick Lane.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair to sit there and say, you can't park across the sidewalks. I understand why, I do. You can't park in the street, you can't park in your yard, you can't do all this, but yet the city approved this, and you're asking me as a resident to do something impossible, park on my roof. I don't know. I don't know where you want me to go. I am a normal, everyday home.
I
Doesn't
mean,
matter who lives in my home. It's a
un-
4-person home.
unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of areas in the city, condominiums, where they have, you know, enough room to pull in one vehicle, or maybe they get 2 spaces. And if their relative was going through hard times, they would have to
It
find
doesn't
some place to
even
put
matter
the.
who's in my- if I was married, I'd have a husband, a spouse, me, my spouse, my daughter, and my son. I'd have a 4-person home. It doesn't matter that it's my sister getting.
No, I'm just saying.
It only matters that I have 4 cars
Yeah,
in the
but when,
driveway.
but you know that situation when you bought the place.
No.
We did not, no, not you. I'm
Do
talking about
not.
condominium you're talking about.
Yes.
You know how many spots you have.
Exactly.
But when we moved into our place, we didn't know the whole situation with parking over the sidewalk, couldn't
No.
park in the, you know, the.
Well, that's not a Medina ordinance, that's
Oh,
a
I know,
state.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but you didn't start ticketing until recently, okay? So,
Sir, I've been here for 35 years. We've been ticketing.
okay. Well, I did,
Trust me.
well, I guess the answer to the question is, I mean, we'll
won't give my
keep trying
address.
to, we'll try to come up with a solution and try to help you. I guess that's all we can do. Because I know in Guilford, we had the same situation, and the people got ticketed ad nauseum because they kept parking in the sidewalk and parking in the street, and they weren't allowed. So you're not unique in that regard, but,
And I know I'm not unique. I just don't.
but, I mean, it's a situation it's difficult. It's a difficult situation. I don't think, I think we recognize that, and we wish we had an answer. And I don't know if we do. And I know that's not acceptable for you to us to say that, but that's where we are.
What do the people on Guilford do then?
There's
Keep
no
getting
parking
tickets.
on Guilford.
There's no parking at Guilford at all, ever. And they keep getting tickets, I would imagine.
They don't park on Guilford.
I think they lost a few cars. I mean, they had a lot of cars in their driveway.
But it's a whole, I mean, their driveways are a lot, it's a whole different situation. The driveways are a lot longer, they can fit more cars there, I mean.
But they just had more cars than we had.
But I've got the same thing in my ward at Oak Street. Those houses were built when there was
Right.
one car for a whole household, and
Mhm.
we deal with it all the time too.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot more people living there that are drivers now, and it's more common to have at least 2 cars.
Similar situation on Lake Shore Walk and Larkins Way. Same design. These houses, at least the houses on Larkins Way, Lake Shore Walk, were designed to be a two-person household, maybe 3 kids, maybe 2, mom, dad, and a kid, maybe. It was never thought to have more than 2 cars in the driveway because they figured, once you start getting a family, you're out. You're going someplace else. That was the thought process in designing those at the time, back in the mid to late 90s. Okay? And that's why your situation, I don't think, was even thought of when it was put together.
Right, because our
Back then.
development was certainly not meant for
So-
that way. It was truly meant.
It is.
All right, well, we'll keep thinking. I guess that's all I can tell you.
And not ticketing.
I don't know, I think the ticketing will happen if you continue to, if you violate the law. I mean, I don't know, we can't, there's no guarantee on that, because the law, I guess, is the law, and everybody's treated equally with respect to that. So, that's not a good answer for you, but that's the answer.
No, it's not.
Alright.
It's not even acceptable,
No? No.
because I didn't cause my problem.
Well,
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know the answer to that question, but, I mean.
I didn't cause my problem.
Well.
I didn't approve the.
Oh, no, the development, yeah, I don't, I mean, that, as you saw, there's other developments exactly like that. that kind of
Right,
problem.
and again, no, the people that live there didn't approve those developments either, the design of them.
Yeah.
And, but again, it's the residents that are being punished for it, and it's totally unacceptable.
No,
Totally.
understand your information, yeah, I mean, there's nothing I could do right now, or any of us could do right now for that, regard that council,
So if I park in my front yard, which is my only option today, the city's gonna ticket me. If I park on the street, the city's gonna ticket me. If I park across the sidewalk, the city's gonna ticket me.
Or if you park between 2 and 5 on a street, yes, if you park in the grass in your yard, yes. That's correct,
I'm out of options.
yes,
I can't, there's not even enough room for me to park between me and Jody's house.
right.
I am truly out of options.
I know,
So saying you're gonna ticket me every day,
Is
it's
that-
pathetic, and it's unacceptable in every sense of the word.
understood.
I get that it's understood, Sean, I really.
I know, I don't know, what
But
I don't know what you want me to
You can
say.
take your extra income that you didn't want and pay my parking tickets, how's that? Because that's the only option I'm seeing right now.
Well, the only way I get that extra income is if I run again and I win, so I don't have
I'll
no
vote
extra.
for you, because I'll need the parking money.
So you'll get the parking. No, we'll try, I mean, I don't know what to, I mean, we'll try to help solve the problem. The only solution to your problem now is to hope you have a neighbor that can help park your boat or your car in for the time being until a solution comes up. That's the only possible solution I can think of.
There aren't any. I mean,
There has to be
no-
one, there has to be
I am
somebody.
the only single person in.
No, but I
my-
mean, there has to be somebody who doesn't have, who has extra room somewhere. I mean, I can't imagine everybody in the street doesn't have extra room at all. That'd be amazing if that's the case.
They all have, I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean,
But
so-
now I have to go door to door and ask my neighbors if I can park my drive, that
That
I don't
is-
even really
that is-
know.
Yes,
Because I've only been there a year and a half,
yes. I understand.
asking if I
I
can
know.
lease their driveway.
Or borrow.
I mean, at that point, I might put concrete in my front yard, because I'm not gonna be the neighborhood pest either.
Right, no. Well,
I'm just gonna
we'll talk
repeat
to
it by my
Brian, I'll
neighbor.
talk to Brian, we'll try to come up with an answer. We appreciate it, I mean, we're trying. And I
I
know that,
know.
that's all I can
I
do.
just need a better answer.
I know, I don't have it. All right, well, thank you.
Okay. We'll be in
We'll
touch,
check,
John.
okay. All right, Donna, thank you.
You're done.
All right, 17101, approve 2017 codification update. This is
Just the annual.
annual update.
Oh, sure.
move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
17102, budget amendments, judgment entry transfer 2017, 016.
They're transferring excess funds from one fund to another, and they're authorized to do this.
Move to approve. Second.
Who's transferring? Oh. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Amending codified ordinance 339.06, truck routes. Mr. Huber. Welcome back. What say you?
Pat Patton's got most of the streets into the city tore up. And as a result of that, we have trucks loaded with material that would like a more direct route to, in and out of the city to deal with this material. This is material for supplies, this is rock and material to remove damaged streets. And we have such a volume of streets that are non-truck route streets, that trying to figure out a way for these big trucks to get in and out has been difficult. And Pat came up with some direct routes that he was able to determine that make some sense on streets that would be able to bear the load, but our ordinance doesn't give any flexibility. Imagine that, an ordinance that we have that doesn't give any flexibility. At any rate, our ordinances don't give any flexibility on determining a route, and so I looked at our truck route ordinance and drafted some language that would give to the safety director some ability to, on a temporary basis, create a truck route that enables these big trucks to get in with their material, get out with their material, that the engineer believes will work sensibly for both us and the contractor.
And
So
you-
that's what this language added does. It gives to the mayor the ability to designate a truck route on a temporary basis to solve this problem.
And these are ordinance of the city, not the ordinance that was voted in by the people? Because I don't think we could change that. can we?
Well, if you look at the ordinance, we've got a whole bunch of streets that we designated as non-truck route.
Okay, so we're talking about what we designated as.
Correct.
To alleviate the congestion problem, to help have traffic flow better on a temporary basis.
That's right.
Because of construction.
Because of construction, is there any notification requirement that we have to do or anything? Or you just do it?
I think we just do it. The only real communication needs to occur between the engineer, the mayor, and the contractor as to, or, you know, if we really formalize it, we could sign it on a temporary basis while we have trucks trying to get in and get out.
At certain times, whenever the truck.
Correct. But it gives to the mayor a little bit of flexibility in trying to solve this problem.
Greg, do we need an emergency clause?
I don't know, Pat, do we have an emergency?
They're using them today.
So this is a then and now.
I don't know, I'd actually look at
Then and
it.
now.
Now, the streets that we want to use as temporary truck routes, I understand that, but the types of material that they're hauling, are they going to be too heavy that we're going to
No,
be
no,
running
it doesn't give
into?
anybody any ability to have an overloaded truck. Those
And the
laws
streets,
don't
it said
apply.
it's designated can handle the weight.
And we're out there policing the trucks, make sure they're not
EVs all
overloaded.
over.
Yes.
All right. Is there any other comments? I mean, there's nothing we could really do about it.
Move to approve.
Second.
So not with the emergency
With the
clause?
emergency.
Yes.
Yeah, he said what the,
Okay.
because he's doing it now.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
My second includes emergency clause.
I don't know how he does that, but
I know, I didn't think.
that's Patrick.
We
All in
have the
favor?
officers ignoring it, is what's going on.
I know. I just have to get Patrick a little. All in favor of the emergency clause?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 17104, authorized fire services contract with the Edina Township. Mayor?
Thank you. So this is an agreement very similar to what we have in place and that has been in place with Montville. We've provided service to Montville for over 5 decades. It's the same amount that we're charging Montville, which is substantially cheaper than Medina Township was paying for their fire operations. It includes all fire operations, which is plan reviews, hydrant flushing, review of their calls, vehicle maintenance on their vehicles through our staffing. We'll give them an improved ISO rating because now they'll be part of the city's fire services. We've agreed in the contract to permit their firefighters that meet the requirements of applicants to apply for our fire department. Our firemen are paid more than theirs. Ours also has civil service protection, neither of which theirs does. We are currently, we have 3 daytime staffing from 8 to 4 and 4 from 4 to midnight. And we're proposing to increase the 3 during the day to 4. So we'll have 4 plus the 3 full-time people for a total of 7 from 8 to 4, and then 6 members divided between 2 stations. One is their Nettleton Road station and one is Fire Station 1, which will serve the northern and eastern portion of the township. We've analyzed the calls over the last several months for the past 3 years. It's our belief that this is the first step towards working towards a fire district, which is something both Medina and Montville Township and I believe our city council is desiring of. It's a more effective and efficient use of staffing, stations and equipment. And because of the collaboration, it also improves our ability to get grants.
Did you mention, is there Fen Road station? Do you have is there on Fen Road there?
There's
Yeah,
Huffman
Bill?
Road.
Yeah.
Fen and Huffman is Medina Township Station 1.
Oh, that's what it's called, okay.
Right.
When you said one, I was getting confused. Yeah.
Our Station 1 and their Nettleton Road. Our Station
Nettleton.
1 by the
I got you.
theater.
Right.
Nettleton Road is our Station 2.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right.
Right.
No, is that it for the mayor?
Yeah, unless there's particular questions, I don't want to delay it.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it, and I know for years we've been trying to set up a fire district. Our past mayor, Jane Lever, tried, and I was for it then, I'm for it now. I think there's more efficiencies. I just want to make sure that what we have in place improves the safety of township residents. And I think from what I hear, it sounds beneficial for that, and I'm hopefully that this collaboration will provide them a better service.
Well, let's ask that question. I think the response times will go down depending on the location and the staffing of the, is that correct? Is that what was decided going through this?
Yeah,
response
the
time will be-
increased staffing, I mean, I can't say response time. It'll be equal or better service than what they're getting.
And that's
right
what
now. Yeah,
And
right.
that's what I want to make sure, that what we're
Okay.
doing is gonna.
Right.
And
I
then
mean,
they-
I can't predict traffic, I can't predict.
Right,
you
no.
know, a variety
But the
of
goal, I mean, the goal of
weather.
fire district, of course, is that you effectively use the locations in each of the areas to their maximum potential to eliminate or try to designate the lower response times to the
Right.
area where the fire occurs.
Right.
And their annual budget was 600?
623,000 is we paid in 2016.
And that's operation and towards capital improvement as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we've discussed this. I mean, a committee was put together last year, and somewhere, I think it was around December, that our fire department proposed some things to us, which included a $3.5 million fire station, full-time fire, taking over LST, and several other things. And one of the things they wanted was a commitment from the trustees that we would never look to collaborate or form a district, which I found to be a rather odd request. So we reached out to the mayor and, well, actually, right when this was happening, we saw that there was an article in the Gazette, the Montville's contract, and I know they've been very satisfied contracting with the city. So we reached out to the mayor, and we've been discussing it now for the past few months, and I would just like to get, we have a meeting on Thursday night, and I would kind of like to get, I think it would behoove everybody to get it done as quickly as possible for various reasons.
And, I mean, I like pretty much everything I hear. The one concern I have is that we're being asked to vote in finance tonight with the emergency clause, and then take it upstairs on the floor, where we generally, not all the time, generally give it a 2-week time before it goes to our council floor. And I want to know why, and I was told it was because the trustees would like us to do that. And I want to hear from you why
Well,
so quick without.
There's been a lot of misinformation put out there by several of our firefighters. That's, I mean, one of the captain of our department actually was on TV, and he said that people, if this happens, people will die, which is beginning to cause a little bit of panic among our residents. We are a little bit concerned also that the longer this goes on, there are possible things happening in our fire stations and with our equipment. We're taking steps now to secure everything, but you can only do so much.
And I guess the question, that we follow up with your question, is that, I mean, we know as far as dealing with Montville, and we would like even more townships to get involved, because we have been numerous studies over numerous years that the providing of a service that is not boundary line or political subdivision line governed is better for the community. And when we talk about community, we can't talk about community as, oh, it's just the city of Medina, or it's just Montville or Medina Township, that's our community. No, the community is everybody. I don't think anybody cares who comes to do the, fight a fire or provide a service, as long as it's done quickly. I don't think I would care if any other township came to help if I was in trouble. I think the question is, we want the help that we're in trouble. We think our tax dollars pay for services notwithstanding political boundaries. That's how I look at it. And it should. I don't know why we do that. I mean, we're all one community, and we gotta help each other out.
Well, I think this is just a perfect example of whether we try to involve other townships or not, to have the three entities, Montville, Medina Township, and the city of Medina, even if nobody else would get involved, the perfect opportunity to create the fire district, and at some point in time, you know, we can go to the voters when you're, especially for showing that it's working, and I think it will work, to put a levy on that would free up Medina Township's money, free up Montville's, and free up the money that the city spends on the fire department, and at a much lower cost per household. So, and it eventually could be, you know, and I think could be full-time. I mean, I think if all three entities were supporting a district with a levy in the future, I think it would be at least no more expensive than we're paying now.
Right, and I think if the three of us collaborate and it does go full-time, that it will be cheaper for everybody.
Right.
I mean, I believe that. I mean, I was a trustee back in the 90s, and we looked at this, I supported it then. Every time it continued to be there was some glitch that killed it. This is the closest we've
Mr.
been.
Ostman, you probably remember, I do, because I was with the life support team 30-some years ago, when the mayor of Medina at that time and one of your trustees, the city was going to increase the township's cost, because the city covered Medina Township. It was going to increase the township's cost by $10,000, and they got in a pretty heated argument, and the township trustee, I won't mention his name, at that time said, we could do it cheaper ourselves, and the mayor said, good, you got 6 months. And that's basically how your
I'm
fire
not sure who the
department.
mayor was, but I know who the trustee was.
Yeah, I knew both of them, so.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to thank the mayor and the trustees for their hard work on this. I think it's a good deal for everybody. I know I looked over the contract, and I like what I see. I'm looking forward to seeing this grow into something bigger and better for everybody.
Mr. Osman, do you feel, I mean, I know you're just one of three, but do you feel if we don't pass it tonight on the main floor with the emergency clause so it goes into effect, it'll kill the deal?
Well, I'm not sure it'll kill the deal, but it's gonna make it much more difficult as it goes along because of the pressure that's being put on us by the public and the misinformation that's out there. It's getting very difficult to put out all these fires, no pun intended. It's getting very difficult. Go ahead.
No, do you think your public would want to know a little more about it before it's already in place? Do you think on your end that the public the residents out there are knowledgeable enough?
When the residents get the facts, they become knowledgeable. It's been that simple, you know. Like I said, it's the misinformation that's a problem.
Is everybody okay with voting it on finance and council? Is everybody
Yes.
you okay with that?
Well, I mean, I understand his concerns, and because of that, I guess a little bit of the safety part of it and the safety of their equipment, which is, I guess, the main thing.
Another thing, another concern that we had was that our department would just quit responding to fires.
That would be a problem too.
That would be a big problem.
Right.
Mr. Colasar did do some of the reviews, and we plotted the numbers in that, and they are struggling to get enough personnel on calls. It's like a skeleton crew all the time. So it's kind of like, you're gonna get the big one in the middle of the night, you're not gonna have enough people there.
Okay, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we have different requirements of residency than the township, and you both feel comfortable, you three, feel comfortable that there's enough head count, if you will, within the area, under the new requirements that keep township residents safe in this transition.
Yes, sir.
I do, yes.
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
Any further discussion? Thanks for all your time. Like I said, I reviewed the contract, had a couple comments and incorporated them. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think we'll go up to council then tonight and pass it to you. 17105, expenditure of $15,000, Wingford Commercial Tire. Who's this?
Mr. President.
Oh, Nino.
Thank you, sir. As we bring this up once a year, we have a PO for $15,000. We'd like to have authorization to increase this by another $20,000, taking the total of $35,000. Wingfoot is one of the largest tire distributors in the nation. They're able to keep their prices the lowest. As you see from the request, we buy new and recap They do deliver and pick up for free. On our end, we rotate the tires out on the tandem axle vehicles the best we can, putting them inside, outside, and getting the longest life out of them, so appreciate consideration on this request.
Questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 17106, Job Creation Grant Payment Standards Food Corporation. Kimberly.
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is for council to approve the 2016 job creation grant payment to the Sandridge Food Corporation in the amount of $22,500 for their 2013 expansion project, which they have $13 million investment for facility improvements, including constructing a 28,000 square foot cold warehouse storage building, creating 100 full-time positions and $3.6 million in payroll. The Business Development Committee met with the company to review the grant and their progress on May 24th, and they reported the creating of 178 positions, so they've exceeded that 100 positions goal in payroll of $7.7 million, and the information has been verified with CCA, and as a reminder, the funding comes from non-income tax generated revenues. Thank you.
Yep.
Move to approve. Second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 17107, fiscal year 2017 CDBG grant allocation, or allocation grant.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This would be for the city council to authorize the administration to submit for our annual, now it's biannual, or 2-year allocation process. So the applications and they run for 2 years now, so the amounts are more than they usually typically are. But we have 4 activities: code enforcement, public transit, sidewalk improvements. This would be for an area from on Lafayette from Court to Baxter, replacement, repair of the sidewalks in that stretch, and fair housing, and then administration. Along with the allocation, we would be looking to apply for critical infrastructure to help fund $300,000 to help fund the reconstruction of South Broadway, south of Wadsworth Road / Lafayette. So that's a rolling application process. So the total funding would be $450,000 for the application. We request an emergency clause. Applications are due July 14th of this year, and the critical infrastructure is an open cycle, so we'd like to get the authorization as quickly as possible.
Is that the most we can do for public transit? Are we capped out? Because I know
It's equivalent to the amount we've always done, but I think the sidewalks and the code enforcement, helping offset the cost of code enforcement and to do the sidewalks on Lafayette, on that stretch of Lafayette, is kind of a nice.
Because we do more than that. We subsidize some more than that on public transit than 22.5. Because that's 2 years.
We just, through the allocation, we do about 11,000, a little over 11,000
Right.
every year. And then the city of Medina supplements it up to, I think it's about 45
Yes.
every year. So
Yes.
the 11 helps subsidize that 45 that the city ultimately pays.
Right.
Yeah, I was just saying there's a certain percentage that's only allowed to go towards government entity. I thought that was the max, but I could be wrong.
No, there's a little bit more according to what I'm hearing from him, but we still have to subsidize some of it
Right.
if we want to have the public transit the way we want. Questions?
I'm good.
Concerns?
No.
No?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, include emergency clause.
All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 17108, private home rehab, 4144 St. James Drive, fiscal year 2016 CHIP grant.
Yes, so this is for a private rehab in the city of Brunswick. As we're the administrator of it, we run the finances of the grant. The contract amount is just over $25,000, so it requires finance and city council approval. So we just ask that this gets approved with the emergency clause, so the contractor can begin the work as soon as possible once the ordinance is approved.
Okay, questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause.
Any further discussion? All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 17109, planning commission recommendation 51117, not to amend sections 112704 and 112705 of the planning and zoning code. Jonathan?
Yes, thank you. Real quick, this is from the May 11, 2017 Planning Commission meeting where Mr. Stanley Sheets representing our client, has requested amendments to the zoning code for the R4 zoning district, which is specifically the section 112704 and 112705, to permit residential scaled storage facilities in the R4 district, in particular areas of the city that would be of R4 zoning that would be adjacent to a state or federal highway. Planning Commission reviewed it. In your packet is the staff report, the packet, the draft Planning Commission meeting minutes, and the Planning Commission recommendation. Planning Commission did review it, and there was a motion to recommend the approval, recommend the text amendments. The motion failed 5-0.
Now, this is just for clarification, this is the property located across from Fire Station 3?
That would be a property that would be able to be built with this, but it could also apply to many other locations that are currently R4 zoned and adjacent to state highways. So it could be, there's at least about 7 or 8 other potential sites throughout the city. So it's a text amendment to the zoning code, which applies to all R4 zoning district zoned properties. The one property at 1011 Wadsworth Road could be one of the sites that it could happen to, but when you're doing text amendments, we want to look at it globally in terms of the entire community.
And they're all, I guess, the particular one we're talking about is in your ward, right? Right. And Mr. Sheets, you're here, you submitted this. Do you have anything to say?
Just a couple comments. I was told there were about 3 sites that had qualified for initially. At the meeting on May 11th, John represented 6 sites around the community. And then when I went and did my due diligence looking at those sites, 3 of them were fully developed. Blue Fox out by Weymouth Road and Granger Road. Brook Point, where you had the fire, the 8 units that came down. And then out on 42, there's a bunch of duplexes out by the Career Center, but on the north or on the south side of the road. There's some backland back there, but nothing that we want to do. It seemed very unique to me as I listened to this lady talk about looking for space. We were dealing with what we call low-rise, garage-style residential storage, similar to what's on State Route 3 south of Medina. It's called State Route 3 storage. It's about a quarter mile north of Chippewa Road. Very nice curb appeal, all yellow units with shutters and stuff, and none of the units open toward the street at all. They all open to the inside. All the lighting is on the building, so there was no exterior. The whole concept was to put some of these adjacent to multifamily or where there's smaller units. Thinking people want to have storage and things close, but it seemed like there was a uniform front against this proposal even before I made the proposal. And this is a trend where we're seeing this more and more throughout different communities. They all started solely in industrial areas because nobody knew what to do with them, but they've gravitated to business, to rural, they've gravitated to multifamily areas adjacent to them because those are the people that need this kind of storage. Just outside of your city at the Trails of Medina, there's about 70 or 80 apartments there. Nantucket Colony, there's no storage, they're all on floor. These are the types of things that we were trying to cater to. And we thought that site made sense because it was, to the south was Ken Cleveland's. They look like condos, but they're cluster home. To the north is Shepherd's Apartments, they're somebody else's now. There's one single family home. It backed up to a cul-de-sac of Ken Cleveland's that had 3 homes. And across the street was the fire station. But again, we made the presentation, we accept what has occurred, but it's just how it came down. And I'm just very concerned when there appears a decision has been made and already potentially influenced by 1 or 2 councilmen contacting zoning and planning members before there was even a presentation. So I'm just here to stress, I thought that system was supposed to be open and independent, recommendations made, then have public hearings and vet things completely, and it just didn't seem like that process was thoroughly completed.
Paul, you're in the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Stan, for your comments. I was not one of those councilmen that had anybody coming to them and talking to them about this, but I did read the words that were in the original planning, strategic plan, and I couldn't find it right now off the top, but basically what it was saying was that the entrances to the city were to look residential and inviting. And part of my reason for voting no on allowing this text amendment was because that is not, I don't think, my interpretation, I don't think is what the strategic planners at the time wanted. I think they wanted what we've seen in some of the other areas that you mentioned. There are home developments there, not garages. I don't care whether you have the garage attached to the house or a row of garages down there, they're still garages. And I don't think that's what the original planners had in mind. And that was the reason that I voted no on that proposal, and I'm confident that the rest of them had similar thoughts when they voted no to not allow this text amendment.
Now,
One further comment. I gave about 40 reasons that I thought it made sense. I'm not saying my 40 reasons were correct. We were given about 4 reasons that it should not, and 2 out of the 3 of those related to your comprehensive plan, which is 10 years old. It doesn't take into consideration the trends and the things that are going on. It's done by a very small group. Yes, it was adopted and it's the plan, but zoning evolves, as we all know, and that was my other concern. Is it seems like comprehensive plans are promoted as, quote, planning tools for the future, but what they really get used for is defense mechanisms to turn away new ideas. Thank you for allowing the comment.
Just so the council knows, these applications come in and they are discussed administratively. I talked with Attorney Todd Hunt and other really predominant zoning lawyers about this, and quite frankly, storage units are not typically considered to be compatible in a residential zoned area. It's just what every lawyer told me, and this discussion then occurred administratively with John, and then to Stan's complaint about council members talking, quite frankly, we're talking about a legislative change here. A council member may have a gut level opposition as soon as he hears about it, and plain and simple not want it, and not want to make the change. Now, that may not make Attorney Sheets happy, but that's how councils work. And so I don't see anything out of line with a council person who hears about storage units in the residential area and says, hell no. That it may come out that way, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, are we being asked to vote on something, or is it just informational purposes? What's
the legislative process, the zoning code says it goes to planning commission makes a recommendation, that recommendation goes to city council for review and approval. So
I got you.
The zoning code is pretty much saying, unless the applicant bailed out of the process while that's going on, they do have the right to go to the public hearing and then reviewed by city council.
Did anybody have questions or any discussion on that, or what are your thoughts?
The process take place.
Okay, you got any questions about the storage facilities and
Well, I
R4,
mean,
or?
I'm gonna let the elephant out of the room. I'm one of the named council members, and I don't know where Stan thought I influenced anybody, because I don't recall that at all. But Mr. Huber is correct. When I first heard that, I was not in favor of it. But I don't think my opinion is here, and maybe somebody overheard me, and that's where you're getting it from. I don't think my opinion would influence a separate board, and it shouldn't. If we're reaching to try to find reasons why a community doesn't want it, that's fine. And if you want to put my name in there, that's fine. But when I see this, no, Stan, I don't want a storage facility in R4 across from a fire station that you not too long ago came to us to change for your client for a compacted residential area, which I even said on the council floor upstairs, thanks, Stan, that was a great idea. We'll be willing to work with you because that property's been empty for a while. That property owner was struggling to have something in there, and it's just me being a council member and being concerned with my neighborhood. So if you take it as I was trying to influence somebody, that's not the case.
I didn't take it that you were. 2 people mentioned it at the meeting, that they were already contacted and they were against it because of a councilman's influence.
Okay.
They didn't say it exactly in those terms, but your
Well, when
name
you
was
say
specific.
contact, you make it sound like I picked up the phone.
No.
Okay, because I don't recall any of that.
All right.
So I'm just letting it
Please,
out there.
let's let it rest. I just want to make the comment, that's all.
that.
You know, one thing I want to say, though, is you know, to your point, zoning does evolve, and needs do change. And I don't think the comprehensive plan is legislated that it has to be followed. The comprehensive plan is a plan for the future.
Right.
You know, and if you look at, you know, you may like it or you may not like it, but there are many entrances to this city that are not residential. They clearly are not residential, nor are they, maybe, some people might consider them not attractive. And so, you know, to Stan's point, you know, it is worth looking at and going through the process, because needs for people change. And we had a I don't know, a half an hour discussion tonight about a garage, because there was no place to store, and it was a different, I can't do it. But
that was not for the lack of storage available.
it was, no, it was not.
Okay.
But my point is the comprehensive plan is a plan, and it's interpreted. But all the entrances to the city are not residential. They're not all very lovely. And when there are needs, it doesn't, developers do try to fill those needs.
So what is everybody's thoughts? I mean, do you want to go with the recommendation of the planning commission or against it?
So we start the process so we can have the public hearings and vote on it then.
Right, there's steps, or?
I think, I don't know if we vote yes, that goes forward. If we vote no, there's no public hearing, or would that?
The zoning code says it goes to city council, the recommendation goes to city council.
Oh, no public hearing.
Oh, public hearing, in front of city council.
All right, so then we gotta go to the next meeting, we'll go to a public hearing, and then we'll vote on it through city council, so that's, I don't think we have to vote on this now, because it goes to a public hearing and it goes to city council.
It's not discretionary at the finance committee level.
Right. All right, well, we'll go to the public hearing next. Okay, thanks, Dan. We gotta hurry up here, we got maybe one more we could do, 17-110, amending
I have to go
subdivision.
set up upstairs.
Oh, you go set up, we'll just,
Well, can't meetings
I need
run,
to
can
record the
meetings
vote.
start late upstairs?
no, they're 7:30, their
What about,
time
we've got
dictated.
Jared on.
We could just recess, and then after council, we'll go back and finish.
All right, we're gonna have to recess from finance committee, and after the council meeting, we'll reconvene the finance and finish up 14 through 19.
Are we coming back down here?
No, we'll stay up there. I and 3102B and 3107 for part-time tree care technician for the Parks Department.
Mr. Worley. Welcome back.
We have a part-time tree care technician in the forestry
Hey,
department.
you can't go to the mic.
Microphone? Is it on? Okay, perfect. So we have a part-time tree care technician in the forestry department, which is a job description that I created about 2 years ago. And that's been a position of pretty high turnover for our department. We've been through 5 employees since I started with the city. And it's one of those positions where the individual working in that capacity is pretty highly skilled, and we put a lot of time and effort to train them to be able to take care of trees. So the person in this position has been with the city almost 2 years now and took it upon themselves to become a certified arborist, ISA certified arborist, which is industry credential for somebody who's pretty much an expert in tree care. So it's beneficial to the city for this individual to have this certification, and I recognize that. So I thought we took it to the Shade Tree Commission to add a section to special regulations to reward them for getting this credential and hopefully be able to retain them in the future. So the position is more in line with our turf technician in the Parks Department, who also has an additional certification above and beyond what a normal part-time laborer would have.
And you know the question. Do you have enough money in your carry forward to cover this person for the next 5 years and going forward?
I knew you were going to ask that. So we do. And the reason being is we're doing most of our work in-house now, specifically like with our tree planting and emerald ash borer. We've been doing that well under what our predicted numbers were for that. And by utilizing this individual skill set, we're able to continue on with that.
We also voted at Shade Tree Commission back in April 20th, and then took it to the Civil Service Commission on Wednesday.
Okay, any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. 17-111, conservation easement for Champion Creek Restoration Grant. Mr. Mandel.
Thanks. This is part of completing the 319 grant through Ohio EPA for the restoration of Champion Creek that we've been working on. The part of the grant agreement requires conservation easements to kind of cover the work that was partially funded by the grant. And these easements cover one private property and two city properties. And this would be, the funding has already been allocated through the original resolution approving the application and administration of the grant. This would just be permitting the council permitting the mayor to execute the necessary conservation easements either on our own property or on with the private property owner.
Now, the only question I have is on a private property owner. That's 406 South Broadway. Is that the house that we?
No, that's the city's property. It's 406 South Broadway. It would be the one property would be the land behind Busy Bee on South Court. There's a piece of land back there that used to have a passenger rail station when passenger rail ran through there. It's an odd-shaped piece of property. It's sandwiched between the creek and the railroad, but it is privately owned, and there was a significant amount of work done within their property that would cover their cover.
The only question I have is is there any mortgage on that property? Do we check that out to make sure when we put the conservation easement out, we're allowed to do that without the mortgage?
My understanding is that would be a concern on the private property owner. Well, I am working with them right now to put they're having an appraiser look at it from their end as well. We have it marked out for the potential easement. The easement was designed to minimize the impact on the usable portion of the land. It pretty much is on a large berm and into the creek, and it's really not a usable part of the property.
That easement, I mean, we don't want it wiped out by the mortgagee if there is one, because they can wipe it out if they don't get a subordination to the easement. So you might want to ask that question.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that?
You're requesting the emergency clause?
Yes, and that is, and I didn't finish off the sentence when I wrote that. It is to permit the timely execution of the conservation easements and completion of the grant, so we can close it out and move on.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause.
Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries with the emergency clause. 17-112, 2017 Concrete Pavement General Services Program. Mr. Patton, you're up. I think I like this better.
Thank you. We've been using this this pavement general services program for, I don't know, 8 years or so. Up until now, it's always been asphalt and concrete. We're recommending this year that we split up into two different programs. We've noticed, first of all, that we never get one bidder for both. Only asphalt companies will bid on the asphalt and concrete on the concrete. This is kind of important to us because we used this program last year to pay for our sidewalk program. This is the tool we used to get the sidewalk program going, and we're going to be coming to here shortly because we're going to start our 2017 program. Probably by the next finance committee meeting, we'll have a little presentation for you. But we'd like to go ahead and bid this. It's the same, program. It's just instead of all the pavement services in one, we're splitting this one in concrete, and Nino, when he's ready, will come back with the asphalt.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. 1713, amending Civil Service Rule 8K, promotional probationary period. Mayor?
Yeah, on behalf of Lorraine from the Civil Service Commission, so she didn't have to stay, we asked and the Civil Service Commission approved extending or changing the probation from 45 days to a year for the listed positions in the RCA. And it also removes the police communication record supervisor, which has been vacant for a period of time. In particular with the fire service, and that's what you see, most of them are. But with part-time folks in many of these positions, the 45 days, they may not even be out on a call together to evaluate. So having a longer period of time for those purposes, as well as in general, just provides a better opportunity to view the candidates and make sure that they're satisfactorily going to be able to do the job.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? Everybody okay with a year? Want 2 years? Maybe 3? No? No?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Thank
opposed,
you.
Motion carries. 17-116, amending salaries and benefits code 3105, 3107 for the cable TV department.
Different to be up here. Thank you, Mr. President. To start off a little bit of history on this position, it's a shared joint position with the Medina City Schools and the City of Medina. The City of Medina covers the benefits and health care for the employee, and the schools cover the salary for the employee. The city actually bills the schools in quarterly statements for that reimbursement for the salary. Since this agreement started back in 2006, we're looking at the first time there's been a lot of restructuring on the school sides. It's a shared partnership where the employee splits his time with Medina TV and the Performing Arts Center for the school district. And looking at that, there's been some restructuring. On the Performing Arts Center side, there's been more of a change in the role with this position in terms of supervisory and also with technological expertise. I went to our Access Committee. We had a discussion regarding this position. They gave a recommendation for a salary rate, and that's what we've looked at now with the rate that you see. And this is just a recommendation that came out of our Access Committee and has gone to Civil Service with the changes to the job description to reflect the new responsibilities for this position. And then this recommendation, of course, coming to you guys as a recommendation, as the school board would have to approve this salary in the long run, since it is their portion of the partnership.
So we're changing the job description and the salary of the position, both?
Correct.
And that's the 3107. What one is that? Is that the job description, or is that the?
3107 is job description, and
3105.
Comments on that? What do you think the school's going to do?
I'm not sure, and I'm going to abstain on this since I'm involved on both sides here, but Jared and I met with a small group of school-related personnel. We're going to start the process of talking to our administrative team, and then we'll go to the board in July. But it is a very important position. It has really come in handy as we've made some cuts in personnel. This position is growing. What Jared was referring to is we have other employees that are hourly that are making more than this position on an hourly basis, and yet this person's supposed to supervise them. So that's what kind of got this going, and Jared brought it to the Cable Access Committee, and they weighed in on it, and it's a very, very valuable, important position to both entities.
And our approval, I guess, would be contingent upon the school boards.
Correct. That's why I said we kind of just voiced it as a recommendation to them.
Other questions?
And all this funding does come from the franchise fee?
Well, the funding for this employee, the salary actually comes from the Medina City School District. The benefits and health care that the city provides would be from the franchise that we collect here.
Move to approve?
Second.
Do we need to?
No emergency clause.
No emergency clause.
Move to approve?
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're not going to discuss the then and now because that already happened. It's already now. And a discussion of capital projects, we're going to delay that to the next meeting because the Cavs are playing. And so we're going to go into executive session.
I will make a motion to go into executive session at, looks like 9:01 p.m. For the purposes to consider the employment of a public employee or official.
Second?
Clerk, please call the roll.
Oh, I'm
hold on.
sorry, and to include the mayor
Myself and Mr. Huber.
and Mr. Huber.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay, Colasar,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Shields,
Yes.
Rose. Yes. Lamb.
Yes.
We'll be recessing and go executive session, come back. We'll take no action from executive session, and then we will adjourn. That's it.
Sounds good.